How are you, people? How you doing?
Good morning. Welcome to our podcast. Come follow with us. I think we nailed
No,
down our name. Yes, it's
no.
come follow with us because we are following the Come Follow Me guide, and you're
But they don't.
following with us along.
It's not in the title though. It's just come follow with us. Like where? Like are we going to the park? So I will
Come
say
follow me with us.
somebody actually approached me and said that they are on my side.
Well,
They
I'm
think
sorry, unless you posted on the comment thread, I cannot take what Miguel says for face value.
they well, it was done at church. People follow me. They're following the program at church, and then they're like, yeah, it should be come follow me with us because the program we're doing the come follow me with us.
I can't believe what he says. Anyway, let us know your thoughts.
Yes, it's still debatable. So I'm gonna the title because I'm the one that puts out the title. It's gonna be come follow me with us.
I guess you've you've already made the decision. All right, well, welcome. Good morning, everybody. We're so glad you're here. This is a faith-based podcast where we just talk a little bit about what we learned in our guide. Come follow with me. Come follow. Hold on. Now I'm all
See, see,
come follow
exactly.
me. Okay, our study guide is called Come Follow Me, and it's based on the Book of Mormon, and that is what we're diving deep into today, in specific the chapters of Ether 6 to 11.
Right, and so come follow with us.
Yes,
Ready?
come follow me with us.
So follow us, ladies and gentlemen. I am beyond pumped up about these chapters. It actually um when people come to me and like I'm going through challenges, I'm going through hard times, I know what to say and I do it, and like and I think I like to give good counsel, but with this chapter, it really solidifies what most of us already know. And this is the one thing that I've understood, and one thing that I really stands out, that these are not new principles. Like we know this to be true, we know them to be in our hearts. It doesn't matter what faith, it doesn't even matter if you follow faith or not. A lot of these principles, they're dear and true to us, and when we read them and we see them, what's happened with the people before, again, it solidifies what we already know. So I am beyond excited about these next couple of chapters.
So just to give you a little bit of background of what's going on, we are in the book of Ether right now, and we are in the part where the Jaredites are crossing the Great Deep. They're actually crossing the ocean. They're in their barges. They get to this promised land. In this promised land, it's all about their, should we say, political system almost a little bit, and how the people do with the political system.
Yeah, towards the end of this section, yeah, it starts to get political. Yeah, it's the governments are introduced, and
Yeah.
kingships, and people trying to throw.
Secret combinations, people not happy with what's going on, people being taken out,
Yeah,
captivity.
and and
Um,
and I can tell you right now, we are seeing that right now,
yeah.
big time. Oh my gosh! So
Well, this is what I love about the scriptures, right? You know how there's that premise everywhere, not just in the faith-based things where it says history repeats itself.
absolutely,
We often go through cycles, right? And I love the scriptures because in the scriptures, it actually shows us the cycle. It actually shows us what history. And that's why the Lord has said, remember these things so you don't make those same mistakes. And
yeah,
that's what we see here, right? We see a lot of people making those same mistakes over and over and over and over again. Kind of like today, right? Today, we also are making some mistakes.
yeah,
So,
one hundred
all
percent.
right, let's dive into chapter 6. You told me chapter 6 is one of your favorites, or you really enjoyed it, right?
I really enjoyed watching this, and I can tell you something right now. It talks about early on that where was it? That he so you have to remember what the book of Ether is, right? So it is a compiled. So okay, so the book of Ether itself, it's about a civilization that took place 2,000 years prior, right? And now what ends up happening is that this book was found, this ancient records was found, and it got kind of like compiled, or kind of got the Coles Notes version of it, kind of thing. And this is what we have now. It's the Coles version of that book that was found. And when it was read, it says that the people that were reading were sorrowful, but then they were grateful at the same time. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, no, no, that they
Yeah.
were grateful because they could see the patterns.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing is we see that time and time again, especially with in Lehi in the beginning of the Book of Mormon. He said that a book was shown unto him, and in this book, the Book of Life, was shown the destruction of Jerusalem. And so that, I mean, if you think about it, right? Like think about how many people you know in Brampton. Think about all your friends that you've made and everything like that. And all of a sudden you were given a vision that Brampton is going to be taken into captivity, and everybody who you love, everybody that you know, will either be taken away into captivity or killed, right? That's sorrowful. Like, I mean, and not be and warning them and them not believing you, like that's absolutely incredibly sorrowful. But then Lehi says, and then he saw all the miracles, the wonderful miracles of the Lord, and then he praised the Lord. So he saw the destruction of Jerusalem, and then he praised the Lord.
Hmm.
Here, something of similar caliber, where the people that found the book of Ether, they they were so sorrowful for everything that they were reading, but at the same time, they were so grateful for the things that they were learning. And so,
Hmm.
I guess the reason why I'm saying is that it's this whole thing about the glass is half full, half empty.
Hmm.
Some people see the glass is half empty, and they wallow, and then they park there. But if you just kind of like change your mindset and be like, there's still water in the cup, right? And there's still something there.
Hmm.
Be grateful for what you're learning. Be grateful for what's happening. It really it changes the perspective of everything else that we learn
Hmm.
or what's happening in our lives, right? Especially if they're a negative thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, it made as you were talking, it made me think about different trials in my own life, right? And had I focused just on the difficulty of the trial, I would have been demoralized. But rather during those difficult times, I learned to focus on the lessons. And I think because of focusing on the lessons, and I think because of surrendering, the whole concept of surrendering, letting go what I thought needed to happen, the Lord blessed me so much more. And I was able to see those miracles. So I think you're absolutely right, right? Every time we have an opportunity to either focus on the hardship and how those hardships are making us feel, or focus on what that hardship, the lessons that is bringing us, and the miracles and the people that are around us during that time, and how things can still be okay, even though in the midst of a turmoil.
Yeah, absolutely. The so I was watching I listen to follow podcasts and speakers, life coaches and stuff like that. And I really enjoy Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, he has certain political views, but he doesn't let he doesn't let it get in the way with interviewing people from both sides. And when he sits somebody down, he really I guess he really listens, right? And those questions are kind of genuine. And he just like, I just want to get to know you. That's his whole thing, right? Is like when he invites people over, he just wants to know you. And then he had this person over, and then they were just talking about hardships and trials and tribulations. And he said that anytime that he's going through a rough time, he watches a video. It's called the good video. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No.
It is I think the guy was a football player and now turned motivational speaker, right? And then he says that every time that something bad happens to him in his life, how to when somebody yeah, when somebody would go to him, one of his people in his organizations would go to him and be like, I'm going through hardships, he would say, good. And then
Hmm.
like get frustrated, and then they would just leave him, and then they would just go somewhere else, right? And then somebody else would come up to him and be like, yeah, my you know, I my house is being whatever, right? There's termites. And he would be like, good. And then, and every time people would come to him, he would always say, good. Eventually, one guy was just like, why do you do that? And he goes, because there's a lesson and a growth behind every bad thing that happens to your life. So when something bad happens, don't look at it as this devastating thing. It's happening for a reason. And
Hmm.
what you have to do is focus on the reason and focus on the lesson. And when you do
Mhm.
that, you're going to see that those things are actually not a bad things, but there are opportunities for growth. And so he goes, good, you're going to grow from what's about to happen to you, right? And so, anyways, Joe Rogan watches that video every time. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, yeah, here is a family or a bunch of families that are stuck in barges. Like,
Can you imagine, like, just like the fact that you're like stuck in something like this, like a dish,
yeah. Yeah, did you
and
see
you with animals? Can you imagine the
what
smell in there? Like,
oh yeah, it's similar to my office, but yes, absolutely. Did
yeah, I
you
can attest to that.
did you that's why I have incense burning all the time. I was like, I gotta get rid of the smell.
Oh
But
my God.
do you know how long they were in there?
Yes, over 300 days. I think it like said 362 days or something,
Three,
right?
344 days
44 days,
yeah,
yeah.
in
Almost
these
a year.
barges.
Can you imagine?
In,
Almost a year fully in barges.
that is absolutely insane. It wasn't like a 1 year trip. I mean, a couple of days trip or a month. It was 344 days. These guys were in barges.
So inside, it's not even like you could go outside, look around. You're like inside.
Kids are being born, things are happening, right? And then the storms are coming in and they're being tossed around left, right, and center, and they're being pushed forward and all these different things. And
You know what I found interesting though in this chapter? I felt like it gives us the key in how to get through difficult times or times that are not ideal, right?
okay.
Because it says on here that they sang praises day and night. And so then I was thinking
Oh
about
yeah.
it. I was like putting myself in their situation, the fact that you're in a barge, you're with kids, you're in a tight space. Like I'm sure there was difficulties with characters and personalities and things that were going on. And how do you overcome that? How do you not get discouraged, demotivated, or even have a sense of depression because of where you are? Because sometimes, even though you know you're headed in the right direction, depression can still happen, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
So I love the fact, I think that's what stopped me dead in my tracks, that I was like, they sang praises, right? And then when I was studying this chapter, I was studying Come Follow Me, and it talked about the power of music and how music has the ability to build our faith, build our testimony, increase our knowledge, and increase our good works. And then it made me think about remember the fireside with, what's her name? Someone came
Sister
recently.
Weeks.
Weeks. Yeah. So prior to that fireside, I had never heard of her, right? So one of the things that I enjoyed about being at the fireside is that she had this particular moment in her talk, I guess, or when she was addressing the congregation, where she stopped and she's like, music changes the mood. So she had this video of a forest and she played different musics. And when it was like music that was motivating, I was like, oh, I feel like all you heard was just the music, and then you saw the same kind of the same field, right?
Yeah,
One of the music made me think about like somebody running through the forest and being happy, right? Then another one made me think of somebody, like it made me scared because it made me think that like somebody was gonna jump out of that particular place. And then there was another one that sounded like romantic. So then it made me think about a wedding or people in love that were gonna like come out and start running, right? But that's the power that music has in our mood. So it's
yeah,
interesting to me, or it's amazing the fact that they were able to manage their moods, manage their Thanksgiving, and really focus on the Lord through singing praises, right?
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And they say that that singing hymns is like it's a form of praying to God, right?
Yeah,
So
here, let
when
me
you
see if I can.
sing and you do all these things, you're involving him in prayer like style in your life. And so I knew someone that they went to YLC and they felt the spirit so strong and they never wanted to live a life without the spirit. And so what they would do is that they would walk to school and back singing hymns in their mind. And so they would download all these hymns and stuff and all he would do is just sing hymns, right? Just to stay closer to the Lord.
Yeah,
What's your on that note, what's your favorite hymn?
I stand all amazed.
Oh,
That one always a tearjerker for me. Like that last I think the last verse that says I stand all amazed that he would love someone like me.
yeah,
Especially because as I was transitioning back into when I was less active into that, I think that's one of the first hymns that I remember really truly listening to. Because sometimes we can go to church and just be there, right? And not really listen.
Right.
So coming back, I think this is one of the first hymns that I was like, oh my gosh, had it always said this? And then I realized that it did, and it really affected my mood and how I felt about Heavenly Father and
That's cool.
Jesus Christ, really. Okay, so I really like this part. And in the Institute Manual, it talks about singing, right? And it says, "What are the blessings of listening to and singing songs of praise?" In modern revelation, the Lord stated that He will bless those who delight in righteous music. The First Presidency described the power of inspirational music. Hymns invite the Spirit of the Lord, create a feeling of reverence, unify us as members. I love that, and provide a way for us to offer praises to the Lord. Hymns move us to repentance and good works, build testimony and faith, comfort the weary, console the mourning, and inspire us to endure to the end. Hymns can lift our spirits, give us courage, and move us to the right course of action. They can fill our souls with heavenly thoughts and bring us the spirit of peace. How many blessings are there? So if you're having a hard time and you need, or like you're having a hard time managing your thoughts, you're really feeling down, the music you listen to makes a difference. Choose inspiring, uplifting music because it will lift up your mood.
Yeah.
And here we have all the blessings that comes from those from listening to good music.
Yeah. I always, anytime I read the scriptures, because again, the majority, about 80% of the scriptures, it was written in the third person,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was either Mormon or Moroni that wrote about the people. The first part, the first 20% of the book, it was in first person perspective, right? And so when I read the balance of the Book of Mormon, 80% of it, I always ask myself, why out of everything, 1,000 years of just life and 1,000 years of just stuff that happened in the new world, why did they pick this to put in the book? And I think this is a great metaphor for how we should live our life. We're going to go through storms, right? We're going to go through, like, stuff is going to happen in your life. And I mean, this is just a part of life, right? Two principles. Number one is we need these storms to push us to the promised land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the barges, without the winds, without the storms, without the waves, those barges were not moving. God could have
Yeah.
chosen any other way to do this, right?
Well, even if you think about the Nephi and Lehi and their families, they didn't have to travel in barges.
Yeah.
They traveled there. It was an open boat.
Yeah.
They had it looked it to me. It appears that they had more comfort
Yeah.
than how the Jaredites traveled.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And mindful, the Jaredites were carrying more stuff, right? Like they were carrying
Yeah.
like the animals and the plants and all that stuff. But yeah, they could have made like a compartment just for the animals and traveled in more comfort. Like, why did the Lord decide to do this, right? And so to get to the promised land, you're gonna need you're gonna need these storms, right? So
Yeah.
whatever your promised land looks like, you're gonna need the storms, the things to push you forward. But even though the Lord allows the storm to take place in your life, He doesn't leave you alone. Like
Hmm.
He will actually walk with you, right? And so He did. He did through the stones,
Yeah.
right? Like those stones provided guidance, and it was a two-part thing. So the Lord provided light, and then they provided songs. They provided things that it wasn't just about the Lord giving them stuff. They also had to do stuff to reconnect with them. So the lights weren't just enough. And so again, going back to all of this, we all have storms. We will have storms. We need these storms to push us forward. We're not left alone. We're going to be given light, but we also have to do our part to reconnect ourselves with God. So when those things happen, like, are we not coming to church because we have a tough time, or are we going to church even more? Right? Are we reading
Hmm.
scriptures even more? And the unfortunate thing is, time and time again, when stuff happens in people's lives, one of the first things they stop doing is coming to church, which breaks my heart to see. Because if they could
Hmm.
just, if they would just keep coming, like,
If they leaned in more into it, I think at that point when you go through a trial, you have a crossroad. It's incredible that Heavenly Father loves us enough to give us agency because even though He knows, like, hey, I have all these resources available for you, come here, He's not going to force us, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think for me in all my difficult times, I lean more into the gospel. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
Let me read more when I'm having a really, really hard time and my thoughts are getting the best of me, my emotions are getting the best of me. I call it my Sunday playlist. I play that in my ears the whole time.
Yeah.
Like I just need reminders, right? I need reminders that the Lord is there. I need reminders not to fear, to have courage. I need reminders to know who I am and how I was created. And if I didn't choose to put good thoughts in my mind by listening to these things, I think I would just be drowning in my own negative thoughts.
Yeah. And also, I want to make one thing clear. I'm not claiming that I'm perfect, right?
If anybody knows that Miguel is not perfect.
No, listen.
We have a
No,
lot of conversations with regards to the things he needs to
no
improve.
peanut gallery comments. This is not what this podcast is all about. That if you want to see
In
that,
fact, we had a conversation about that just before we got on this.
no peanut comments, peanut gallery. If you want to see peanut comment galleries, take down Miguel. Just watch our Monday podcast. You're gonna see a lot of that. This is the different podcast. But what I am, so I'm not proclaiming that I'm perfect, and of course I'm going to make mistakes, and of course I've whatever I've had my days of doubts and stuff like that. But what I am saying is, through lived experience and reading the scriptures, the best advice that I can give people is that when you are going through tough times, worst thing you can do is stop doing those spiritual things, saying your prayers, reading your scriptures, coming to church. At our church, at our ward, we actually call it the CPR. A big campaign took place with CPR. We've talked about CPR before, right?
Mhm,
So C, church, P, pray, R, read.
mhm,
CPR. Those are in the real world. CPR breathe breath life back into people's life. In the church, CPR will do the exact same thing spiritually. And so, anyways, so when those storm comes, don't stop. Keep going, keep coming, keep praying, keep reading. So
mhm. Agreed.
that's that. I also love the fact that there's a big discussion there about humbling. You need to humble yourself before the Lord humbles you, right?
Mhm. I was reading and I was studying this part because it talks about two things. It talks about it talked about praises and it talks about
Hum,
humbleness.
yeah, humble.
Um, and as I was reading, I love diving deep and going into additional resources that actually talked about the two twin characteristics of happiness.
Mm,
So it talked about being humble and having gratitude. So
mm,
being humble is having that mindset that you need the Lord, you need the Lord in your life, that you without him your life would not be the way that it is, or yeah, you can't do it on your own. Then the second thing, it talked about gratitude and it talked about the importance of having a grateful heart for the blessings that the Lord has given you and for the goodness of life. And I
mm,
loved it, right? Because I was thinking about it, how when we operate from a state of fear and lack, all that we can look is the things that we don't have. But then when we operate from a state of gratitude, and from dependence as well, dependence on the Lord, then one, dependence and humility allows us to realize that there's a greater being, like more than us, that it is there to love us, that's there to help us, that He's there to help us reach our potential. And then the whole attitude of gratitude, it puts us in such a better state. It opens our heart and it actually opens our minds to be able to see more opportunity as opposed to operating in a state of fear and lack, right? So I
mm.
love that when it was talking about having an attitude of gratitude and having a humble heart, and those being the twin characteristics of living a happy life, it totally made sense to me.
Yeah. Actually, we find that in verse 12 of chapter 6, right? And it
Hmm.
says, and they did land upon the shores of the promised land. So again, the storms have gone by and everything. And when they did set their feet upon, where am I? When they set their feet upon the shores of the promised land, they bowed themselves down before the face of the land, right? So again, that's
Hmm.
humbleness that you're talking about. And they did humble themselves before the Lord, and they did shed tears of joy of the Lord because of the multitude of his tender mercies over them. So they humbled themselves, and then they start thinking about all the mercies, the tender mercies what the Lord has given them. So that gratitude. So exactly what you're saying
Mm-hmm.
right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they humbled themselves and they showed gratitude, and before and then and anyways, um,
Just to interrupt you there, it made me think this yesterday I was thinking about I think I was on social media and sometimes I was following this girl, she's a member of our church and she was just sharing her faith and like sharing different aspects of our faith, right? And the hateful comments. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like what is going on? How one, I can never imagine myself posting a hateful comment just for somebody sharing their religion, independent of what religion it was, right? But anyway, I ended up commenting on her. One, I was angry and I wanted to like yell at all those people, but I thought that's probably not the best idea. That's probably not the best idea. So I just ended up leaving a comment for the girl, just saying to continue to share her light. But it made me think about how in a world sometimes that's like, there's no God, just go and do your thing. Like go and live your life, live your best life. It's all up to you kind of thing, right? How scary that would be. How scary would it be to know that everything's up to me? Because then I would just feel overwhelmed. I find it so freeing to know that there's a God that loves me. I find it freeing to know that when I'm struggling and I feel like I need additional help or I need support, that I can go to someone. Like
yeah,
to me, that's freeing. I'm like, that's incredible to know that there's somebody rooting for you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it just made me think of that. I'm like, sometimes we focus, sometimes there are others who don't share our faith, don't share any beliefs, who are very adamant about the way that we choose to worship and how wrong it is. But then I think to myself, I find it actually freeing that we worship or that I worship the way that I do because it helps me to show up in life as a more confident person because I can have confidence in God and I can also have confidence in myself that as I go through trials, that even my self-belief will continue to grow, as probably the Jaredites did, right?
yeah,
I'm sure they were feeling a lack of confidence and scared to actually go into these barges and like head over. But what happened? They went into the barges. They were in there an insane amount of days, over 300 days. But what happens? They actually come to this beautiful land. Can you imagine just the thought process of being like, oh my gosh, God put us here. Like they weren't like they didn't have anything that they were guiding it, or they didn't have a captain that was one of them that was like looking at a compass or doing all those things that needed to get them from point A to point B. They were solely relying on the Lord. And
yeah,
then coming into this land, I cannot imagine the gratitude that they might have felt because they knew that it was something greater than them. It
yeah.
must have been so humbling to know, like, oh my goodness, that had nothing to do with us. We did our part. We created the barges. We did, and we got into where the Lord said we needed to get into. But the Lord literally took us from point A to point B.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I've worked with a lot of people. Like I work with the Canadian Mental Health Association, and one of the things that they talk about a lot, and I was on assignment one day, and to work with a group, and gratitude was a huge portion of the point and topic of conversation. And also psychologytoday.com, they put an article when the pandemic was at its highest. They put an article saying how being grateful will help you get through this tough times of the pandemic. And
Mhm.
they actually wrote 30, I think it was 33 or 34 reasons or what happens that when you are grateful, how you will have this innate ability to just live longer.
Mm-hmm.
You something along the lines of like it will help you get promotions, it will help you get friends, it deepens relationships, it takes away you become less materialistic, you become more spiritual. But again, it's like this there's 34 things, 34 reasons why gratitude will allow you to live a longer and healthier life. And this was put out during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So when stuff like this happens in your life, again, going back, when those storm hits, instead of cursing God and cursing the world, you gotta just sit down and you said it, remember,
Yeah. I
remember.
love that word. I
Oh
find it
my
so powerful,
gosh,
right?
I gotta.
Remember.
I'm telling you right now, that was the one. The Lion King. That's what comes to my mind, right? Remember who you are, and
Yeah.
that's what got me through high school, right? I have this.
Does it say remember who you are?
Yeah,
Aw.
right. And this is literally this is what got me through high school. This is what gets me through today. Anytime that I'm struggling, I have to remember who I am. This was given to me a while, see, when I was in the youth program. But it remembering who you are, remember the mercies, the tender mercies of the Lord, remember all the miracles, remember like what you have. If you focus on that, it will get you through absolutely anything.
I just quickly looked up the hymn, Count Your Blessings. Okay, I
Mm.
love that first verse, and it says, "When upon life's billows you are tempest tossed, when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done."
Yeah,
Right? It's a whole concept that sometimes we forget. It's so easy to focus on the negative that we just go through life not appreciating what we have. And there's many principles even within personal development saying that when we don't appreciate what we don't have the eyes to see new opportunities or new blessings. How can the Lord bless us with more if we don't actually appreciate what we have and don't have the eyes to see what already the Lord has given us?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I have here um, that we actually need storms in life.
Yeah.
But I made this comment here. Why didn't God just make it a smooth sailing, right? Like this is God. He could have done anything else. He could have made a bridge. Like I mean, this is the same person that parted the Red
Could have
Seas.
like snapped his fingers and then they would have been on the other side.
Easy, right? Easy.
Yeah.
But then he used the storms to get them from point A to point B, and it just kind of left me thinking. It was like, okay, he could have done anything else. Why did he use the storms? Why did he why that? Um my conclusion was that the storms, what was that quote? It says that the boiling water will melt something, but the same boiling water will harden an egg. It's a quote. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
I,
if you're what's that?
it sounds familiar, but I
Oh,
can't think of it.
soften a, yeah, that's what it is. A boiling water will soften a carrot, but the same boiling water can harden an egg,
Mhm.
right? So it's not the water, it's what's in it. And literally just the other day, I heard this quote: at Costco, a bottle of water is less than $1. A bottle of water at the store is $1.50. A bottle of water at a restaurant, it's $2. A bottle of water at a game, like at a, what do you call it? At an arena, it's $3. Same bottle of water at the airport is $5. The water bottle at the in the airplane is $7. So what changed, right? It's environment.
Mhm.
And so the storms, it's a very interesting thing when it comes to the storm, because the storm, if you don't have the word remember, or the or fix the single to your eye single to the glory of God, the storm can either pull you away from God, or it can really solidify and really create a deep, deep bound with Heavenly Father.
Mhm.
We need the storms to, how do you say it? We need the storms to connect to, no, not connect. What's the word I'm looking for? To strengthen. That's it. We need the storms to strengthen our relationship with Heavenly Father.
If I can just add a couple of things as well, I
Mm.
think it is from the journey from point A to point B. You're absolutely right. The Lord at any point can take us from point A to point B like that, right? But
Mhm.
it is in the middle that's messy, that's painful, that where we learn lessons, where we learn confidence in ourselves and in the Lord, where we learn character traits that we take with us to different experiences.
Mhm.
If something's done for us, if something is like, if something's always done for us or we don't go through that difficult middle, we don't learn. So when another problem comes up, we don't have the skills to be able to do it.
Right.
Um, I was thinking about this actually. On Wednesday, I have one of my goals till the end of the year is to improve my swimming. So every Wednesday, I go to the pool and I do like an X amount of laps, right? And I was struggling. I was like, I was like huffing and puffing. And then I took a moment to reflect that sometimes we're so focused on the end result that we actually don't see the middle and we don't appreciate the middle and enjoy the journey of the middle. Because for me, my goal is to improve my stamina when I'm swimming to be able to swim longer in a short amount of time. That's my actual goal. But doing it and doing something I didn't want to do is building my grit, is building my resilience, is giving me confidence, right? These are three things that I would not be able to get have I like if it was easy. If it
Yeah,
was easy for me, I wouldn't be building. If it didn't take effort, I wouldn't be building. If it didn't take sacrifice, it wouldn't the growth wouldn't be there because it's just something that comes easy to me and I just go and do and that's it, right? But
yeah,
because this is coming hard to me and this is a conscious choice that I need to make every Wednesday, I have to like mentally prepare myself. I'm seeing those character traits being built even more because of the effort that it takes, because of how hard it is. Same thing with the Lord. How
yeah,
can we build self-confidence? How can we build confidence in the Lord if we don't actually have those moments where we are choosing to do something that's hard for us, where perhaps we haven't done before, where perhaps we don't know where we're going, but yet we're still choosing the Lord. The Lord is able to work through that. He's not able to work through something that's easy for us.
yeah. And so to continue what I was saying before you rudely interrupted me, the have you ever seen?
See, again, I know you weren't listening. You had that look and
I
like,
was
when
listening.
is she done?
I
When is
was listening. I
no, you
heard
weren't. Anyway,
everything
it
you
doesn't
said.
matter. As long as
Something about
someone was
swimming.
listening.
Something about swimming. But no, no, I agree with you. And here's the thing: is do you remember the movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
Sadness.
Yes. She has a
Sadness
purpose.
sadness brings us together. And if even
Yeah.
recently there was this huge, massive storm, and then lightning and all these different things. And our youngest kids, what did they do? Right? They ran to us. They ran into our bed, and they snuggled and they curled up and stuff like that. These horrible things that are happening in life, they're just opportunities to find comfort and bind bind our relationship and strengthen our relationship with the Savior. To know that when hard things happen, that he is there with us, that he doesn't leave us alone, right? And the
Mhm.
unfortunate thing is that when bad things happen, for some people, it does the opposite, right? Why is he doing this to me? And if you can just see that those things that are out of love and out of opportunity, it does it changes everything, right? It just changes
Yeah.
our whole mental focus, much like swimming.
Much looks. It's funny. I'm reading this book right now with its regards to it's called Unlocking Your Mind, and one of the things that he talks about is positivity, and
Mhm.
he says a particular term before it, but I can't remember what it is. But he talks about the importance of positivity in giving us self-reliance and resiliency.
Mm.
How when we are positive and we choose to believe that we can get through difficult things, that it actually enhances our resilience.
Yeah,
Right? So I'm like choosing to believe that the Lord is there, choosing to believe that you can do this will enhance your resilience. You will be able to learn lessons and you will be able to get to the other side.
absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
uh we're coming almost to the end, but I really want to talk about the secret combination stuff.
Yeah.
This is a
We should explain to those of you who may not know what secret combinations are. They're just stuff that's done in the hidden. Nobody knows, kind of like behind closed doors, secret things that are going on, much like gangs, right? Gangs are not out in the open. Gangs do things behind closed doors, and then things happen in the open, and nobody knows what exactly happened.
right.
Would that be a good
No,
definition?
that's perfect. That's really really perfect.
Right? So I'm like, this is how secret combinations work. They're not honest. They're not there to help anybody out aside from helping your own purposes. And
Yeah,
it's always for your own gain, right?
yeah.
So here's a plot twist.
No, and then that's huge. And it says, so it says here, I found it and goes, and all these things were done in secret. From the days of Cain, there was a secret combination. Satan had great dominion because of his secret works. So yeah, you're right in the sense of they're not necessarily done in the name of the Lord. They're just Satan works in darkness and the Lord works openly, right? And
Exactly.
so the Lord um Yeah. And so anytime that you are conspiring secretly behind somebody's back or anything like that, just know that that's not cool. Like that's an
That's a
abomination.
secret combination.
It's a secret combination. So when I'm planning on Xing Maria to bring in Jason Palmer as my new host, if I
That
was,
is a secret combination.
well, no, hang on one second. If I was to do that in secret, right, then that would be a secret combination. But I do it openly, right? I tell her all the time. They're just one call away from being replaced, right?
I
So,
listen. Miguel is looking for a new co-host. So if you like his vibe, send the applications in. I will step down.
right.
Just
Anyway,
know that he is not what he appears to be in camera. There's a lot of him that you'll have to get to know.
so we're gonna edit all of this out just to let you guys know. Yeah, this is definitely not happening. Um, yeah, I think that's it. There was one verse here that I wanted to read out before we left. Verse 26 and goes, "Wherefore I, Moroni, came unto the." Nope, that's it.
Like that is it.
Yeah, evil is shown on the people. Oh yeah, so here in verses, so chapter 8, verse 26. Wherefore I, Moroni, am commanded to write these things that evil may be done away. So here's the thing that we were talking about earlier. Why did Moroni leave this year? Well, the Lord asked him to do it first of all. But then one of the reasons why it was left here is that we can become aware of what's happening, the good,
Hmm.
the bad, and the ugly. And in that way, some people are experiential learners. They have to go through the stuff to be able to learn these things, while other people are more they're good with reading this and be like, you know what, I see how it turned out, I trust God completely, I am not going down this road, and then won't do it, right? So there's a little bit of for everything, there's a little bit for everyone, and the hopes is that we are of the latter, that we don't have to go down this evil or down this negative or this bad road for us to be able to be learned people. We can just learn from our ancestors, from the people that lived before us, and see how it turned out for them. And if we
Yeah.
trust God enough, then we'll be good.
I agree. I like the scriptures for that very reason. It gives us resources to what we need to improve in our lives. It gives us warnings. It
Yeah,
gives us things that we need to learn and patterns we need to see. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah, definitely the scriptures are for our day, and they do give us the ability to be able to strengthen our relationship with the Lord, but also creates the confidence in knowing what to do in certain situations.
absolutely.
All right, that is it.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen. You want to do the outro? I don't know who
We're
does
like,
it. I know.
yes,
All I know is that I do the outro for Monday podcast.
okay, so I'll do the outro for this one. We are so grateful that you were here, able to spend this time with us. We hope that you gained some value of the things that we did say. Share your thoughts, share your comments with us. Let us know if there are nuggets that did help you and what your take is on it. And other than that, we will see you next week.
Absolutely. Take care
Uh,
and bye for now.
Bye.